Hello, welcome. Hopefully my microphone's not too loud. Hi, I'm Johnny Pierce, and welcome to the first editing live workshop. Great to see you guys here. Today I'm going to talk you through how I edit my light painting pictures. We're going to go through this picture here that I've got here, which is the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. And I'm going to talk to you how I've taken the picture, what settings I've used, what camera I've used, what lens I've used, and then we'll go through and edit it in Photoshop. Okay, so I've taken 3 pictures of the car. This first shot is a base shot. I've used no light painting. If we look here, I'm using my aperture's f8. I'm using a 13-second exposure. I'm using auto white balance. And I'm using ISO 50. The camera that I'm using is the Sony A7R II, and if we have a look down here, the lens that I'm using is the Sigma Art 24-70 2.8. Great lens, love it. It's my go-to lens, and I shot this actual image at 24mm. Okay, so I've got my 3 images in Adobe Bridge. And what I'm going to do is quickly select them all, click on open, and then this should bring us into Camera Raw first. We'll make some minor adjustments and then we'll go into Photoshop. Hopefully the background music isn't too loud. I'll just wait for it to load up. In. Okay, so first, I'm going to make some minor adjustments in Camera Raw. You can do this in Lightroom, it's exactly the same. What I like to do first, if I go down to Geometry, Auto usually does a great job, and that just literally straightens up these lines, gets these curves out of it. So now what I'm going to do, if I click on Shift, that selects all of my 3 images. If I right click and then go to Sync Settings, I'm going to check None, and I'm going to click on the setting I've just changed, click on OK, and that'll make all 3 images the same. Right, let's go back to this base image. I'm quite happy with the exposure, to be honest. I know my histogram up here looks pretty dark, but I quite like that. But what we could do, we could just bring up the exposure just a touch, bring up the shadows, add a bit of clarity, just a tiny amount, and a bit of texture. This is going to be my base shot. So all the background is going to be used, and then we're going to light paint the individual car into it. What I might do, actually, let's put a graduate filter. Let's just darken this up a bit, this ground. Let's lower the exposure. You can see you can get quite a dark fade, but we don't want that too bad. I think that will do. Let's go to this first light painting shot. So with this shot, I walked behind the car with my light shining over it, so that gives me this lovely rim light around the catch of the top of the car. I quite like how that is, so I'm going to leave that picture as it is. Now this shot is when I walked in front of the car shining down. If we just go back to base settings, what I'm going to do on here, I'm going to bring up the shadows in the wheels. There we go, that looks great, that does. And I'll add a bit of clarity on the car, make it pop just a little bit more. Same with this one, I'm just going to go back and add a bit of clarity. That'll do. Right, so now I have my 3 images, and I'm going to select them all, go down here to open, and this is going to open it. When it So you can see here I've got my 3 images in Photoshop. But what I need to do now is add these as layers. Sorry, my stream seems to be playing up. Let me just check this. There we go, that's better. Right. Now, in Photoshop, I only use one plugin. It's not fancy any fancy brushes or any voodoo magic. It's a plugin that speeds up my time and it helps me to get my pictures edited as fast as possible and as quick as possible. This plugin is called Raya Pro 5. I can send you a link if you want to. It's dead easy to use and it helps me fly through images in Photoshop. So I've got my 3 images here. I've got my plugin up here. I'm just going to go to the top one. Now I'm going to stack all these images together and then that will create one image with all my 3 layers right here. I'm just going to unlock this one. So as you can see, I've got my 3 layers now, my 3 images as 3 separate layers. We'll start with the base. Next, I'm going to just enable them all. I'm going to go up to align, and that's going to align the images together. So if in between when I was taking pictures it's out of line, they should bring them all back together. Okay, so that's all I do with that one. Right, so let's have a look at the first picture. So as you can see, as we've aligned, you can see this white border now around the image. So what we're going to do, we're just do a very slight crop. Keep it the original and just bring it in just a touch to get rid of that. So everything is there. Click on enter. This is going to be our final image. I'll select my first image. I think I might leave that one to the second. So let's bring this one down and select that. So this is going to be the first image I'm going to now blend together in Photoshop. So the way I do that, I'm going to put a mask on it. I'm then going to invert my selection and then I'm going to select a brush by pressing B. It's way too big. Let's bring it down to about here. That's good. And I'm going to zoom in. Hopefully you'll be able to see that very clear and hopefully my face isn't in the way. And now I'm going to put a white brush on and literally I'm just going to paint over. Painting the bits that I like. Now, normally, if you're doing this for a client, you'd probably want to use the pen tool, mask out the car, but ain't nobody got time for that. I'm going to do this as quick as possible and get this edited for you. So it's going to be quite rough on the edges and I'll just fix them in a minute. Let's get everything in. Go. Okay, now I'm going to invert it back. No, I'm not. I'm going to put a brush, black brush. Let's put that back. And I'm just going to tidy this up. That's wrong. Let's go back here. There we go. There we go. And then over here, I went over too much. I'm just going to paint that back in. Right, so that's the first shot. So if we come out, that's the first image. Let's go right back in again. Did I do that? No. For some reason, it's on lightened. Let's put that back to normal. There we go. That's better. And let's just tidy this bit up here. Right, back to the image. I'll tell you what, let me just move my camera. There we go. That's better. Let's leave that up there. Right, so now we're going to add the final layer to the image. So at the minute, it's going to look like this. Again, we're going to do exactly what we did on the last one. We're going to put a layer mask on it, and then invert the layer mask. And now we're going to be able to paint in just what I want. So let's zoom it right back in. And I'm just going to make my brush a bit smaller. Put a white brush on. I'm literally just going to paint just the rim of the shot. Get that in. Let's just tidy this last bit up here. There we go. And that gives us a nice highlight at the top of the car. I literally just want this line. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Let's go around to the front of the car. I literally just want this line that goes all the way down. And that'll be it. Let's just tidy this bit up. There we go. And now we zoom out. And that's the images blended together. And that looks pretty darn good. Right, so let's come out. So that's my first lot of work done. So then I put these into a group. If I can remember how to do that. I think it's Control-Shift-G. There we go. Put them into a group. Now what I want to do is, once I'm happy with that, I'm going to press Control-Alt-Shift and E, and that blends my images all together. I'm then going to press Control and J to duplicate it, and this is going to be my cleanup layer. So all I'm going to do now is tidy up and get rid of stuff that I don't like in the picture. To do that, I can do it in multiple ways. Normally I'll get my spot healing brush, zoom in a bit, and what's great, you just tap it, click on it, and it's gone. So I won't go crazy, but you get the drift. You know, this, I think it's like chewing gum that's just stuck to the road. It's pretty nasty. So let's try and get rid of all the big ones. We'll go over here, get rid of that can of cigarettes. Down here, tidy it up. I mean, you can go crazy, but this would take forever. So I'm happy with that. With the road, I'll just do a few more. That's that done. I'm now going to try and get rid of this sign because I don't like it. So what I'm going to do, I'm literally going to draw a box around it. And then I'm going to use the content aware tool to get rid of it. So to do that, I'm just going to click on Shift and then delete. And that brings up my content aware tool. Leave it blend in normal opacity 100. I'm going to click on OK. And we'll see what happens. Click Control D to get rid of the box. And if we see the before and after, that's done a pretty good job. Right, I'm now also going to go into this little patch that's quite distracting. So I'm going to do the same thing, draw a box around it, hit Shift and then delete, brings up the content aware tool, click on OK and we'll see what happens. So it's done an OK job, but it's not the best. So let's try it one more time. Shift, delete, OK, and that's better. I'm happy with that. You can't really tell that's there. I like having the camera here, so we're going to leave that in. But it looks like we've got a bit of a light streak in here that we didn't get rid of, so we're just going to try and get rid of this again. Again, Shift and delete. See what happens. Yeah, it's alright. Probably would have used the clone stamp tool, but we don't really have a lot of time, and I don't want to waste. You don't want to watch me spending hours just editing and getting rid of these little imperfections there. Oh, wrong scene. Go back. There we go. Right. So now that looks pretty good to me, but we're not finished. So now what I like to do first is do a curves layer. So we'll go down to our layers, bring up curves, and we've got our little tool over here in the corner. What I like to do is raise the black. So let's lift this point up to about there. Looks pretty weird. Now we've put an S curve, so we're going to bring down the shadows, maybe it's about there, and bring this up, the highlights. That makes it a lot more contrast. I'm then going to do another curves layer, and this time I'm just going to raise the midtones, and that kind of balances it out. So you can see our before, and this is our after the tones. It gives it that kind of like moody vibe. Now what we're going to do, we're going to do some color grading. So how I like to color grade, I like to use gradient maps. I think they're really good for this kind of photography. So let's go back down to the layers, and then we go on gradient map. Now this looks pretty rubbish. I have some gradient maps that I like to use, and this one is the one I like to use the best at night time. If you want to get my gradient maps, I'll put them together, and we'll see what we can do. Just send me a message. So at the minute it looks pretty rubbish. We'll go down to our blending mode. At the minute it's set to normal. We're going to change that down to soft light. Now this makes it look super dark. We don't need this much. So we're going to go to our opacity. We're just going to bring this right down until we start to see the nice moody gradient come into it. So if I do the before, and that's the after. I'll zoom in so you can see it a bit better, but I quite like that grade. It suits the night car well. I'm happy with that. Cool. So now what I'm going to do, you can see my light was quite blue according to the white balance, so we're going to get rid of this blue tone to this black event the door. So what we're going to do next, we're going to do a hue and saturation layer. What I like to do is bring the saturation right down, not that far, we don't need it, we can have a bit of colour into it, so let's maybe do it about there. And then we're going to invert the mask by pressing Ctrl I, so now it's gone to black, and then we're just going to paint over the car what we don't want. And get a brush, I'm going to zoom in again, there we go, and I'm literally just going to brush out the blue, get rid of that horrible blue tint. Careful not to actually mask out any colour like the Italian flag. Let's get rid of all these blue highlights. Let's get rid of this blue. Just try and be as quick as possible. Again, you know, if you're doing this for a client, you'd probably want to use the pen tool to be perfect, but we're trying to be as quick as possible. Right, I'm happy with that, so let's just come back out and let's see the before, see the after. There we go. We're near enough finished. I'm quite happy with this image. This is exactly, well, hang on, let's just get rid of these last bits of blue that I missed. Always worth double checking. There we go. So this is how I've edited the picture, and this is how I've posted on my Instagram. Now to finish, I'm going to go back and using the plugin. So this is where the plugin comes in great. I'm going to go to here, filters and finishes. I'm going to select sRGB. I'm And what that does, it makes sure that the colors are set to the sRGB spectrum. So when what the color looks like here now is going to look exactly what it's going to look like on your phone. It's going to look like on the web if you post it onto like your portfolio or anything like that. I'm now going to add a sharpening filter. I'm going to bring this down to about 1.6. Click on OK, and that's going to do that for me. If you go to filter, you can go to sharpen and click on sharpen. But this is just dead easy, does it for me, super fast. I love it. Now it's sharpened. We're going to export it. We're going to save it. So how I like to save it, we're going to click on JPEG. I do a full. So I'll put in SVJ full. So I know this is going to be the full size one. And that didn't work. Alright, so we can go up to File, go to Save As, Save on Computer, SVJ, full, save it as a JPEG. I've already done it. So I'll just click on Save, I'll say, yep, I'll replace it. And I'm going to put it to 12, and a preview should come up. So now this JPEG is going to be about 18 megabytes. So that's okay. Now, how do you export to Instagram? So what I like to do, we've got this handy little feature, sharpen and resize for the web. So we'll go by width. As it's going to be a landscape picture, I'm going to put in 2048 and click on OK. Let it do its thing. Do you want to convert this color profile to sRGB? Yes. Sharpening is complete. Now it tends to put in too much sharpening, so I like to take one off. So this is size perfectly sharpened for the web and for Instagram. So again, we can just go to Save, click on Computer, save it as a JPEG. I've already done it here. I saved it as a web. Yes, replace. And this is only be about a megabyte. If you want to save to Instagram, you want to be between around 700 kilobytes to a megabyte. So let's click on OK, and that's going to be saving it. If you're going to do it by the 4x5, let's just delete this one. Let's do a crop, and we're going to go 4x5. So this is going to be my 4x5 crop. Click on OK. There we go. So this is a perfect size for Instagram. We're going to go back to our resize for the web. Go to width, and this time you want it to be 1080. So this line is 1080 pixels. That's perfect for Instagram. And do exactly the same. Yes. Yes. I like to take that one off. And then go to Save. Save as. Click on OK. Save as a JPEG. And this time I'll put that. And I'll put 4x5. So then I know that this is for a shot for Instagram. Click on Save, and I'll save it around 700 kilobytes. That's great. And job done. We can then delete this. Okay. Press Ctrl Z to go back. Press B to come out. And that is the picture finished. We can then just click on Close and click on Save. And then I'll save this as a PSD file. So if I ever want to come back and do any changes, it's going to be saved. Just saving down here. And that is it, guys. That is how I edit my light painting pictures. Let me know what you think, what questions you have. I'll try to do my best to edit them. I've recorded this, so I'm going to put up a link. You'll be able to download it, watch it at your own time, at your own pace. Let me know if you want to see more. Maybe I can give you the raw files and you can edit at the same time. Yeah, sounds good. Let me know what you think. Cheers, guys.